You got a booger on your nose right there.
Hi, my loves, and welcome to Jennifer's Open Book, where we don't believe in filters. Um, I have two special guests with me today. We are going to be talking about Black women's attitudes. So this is a sensitive subject. I expect a lot of comments, you guys. Before we get to that, make sure that you hit your subscribe button if you have not already subscribed to this channel. Hit your like button. Share this video, leave comments, and go check out some of my other videos. So, my two special guests are you've actually seen him on here before, Mr. No Filters himself, Boulevard Burt,
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
and the dance queen, Miss Maisha.
What's good, folks? What's good?
So, first, before we start, did you guys hear my intro? Did it actually play this time?
No, I
We didn't
didn't.
hear it, but
No, you didn't hear. Okay, well, we'll see if it plays on the
That's
when
the one.
we
That's the one that
come
gets
back.
you started and then ends.
Yes, and I have not been hearing it, but it has been popping up on my videos. I'm going to trust that it played this time, you guys. So, again, thank you guys for joining me. So, like I said, this is a sensitive topic, and I like to talk to other people about this. And I've had outside conversations about Black women's attitudes. Um, I hear a lot about Black women having really bad attitudes. This comes from men, but it doesn't only come from men. Me personally, I've actually said it myself. I don't like our attitudes towards each other. And I feel like this is something that we do need to change. So before we get into this conversation, and this is going to be an ongoing conversation, and I'll share more with you about that at the end of this video. Before we get into that, I have something that I'm going to read to you guys. It's the lyrics to a Nina Simone song that I think can explain a little bit about why Black women are the way that they are. Just a little bit, because it's not the only reason, but I do think that it has a lot to do with the way that we think, or the way that we act towards people in general. And I want to also say that this is not an excuse. So I'm going to elaborate on it more after I read the lyrics. So are you guys ready?
we're ready.
Okay. So Nina Simone, and I'm actually going to post I'm going to post this song in the comments so that you guys can go back and listen to it if you want to. It's called For Women. And I'm not singing it, okay? I'm just going to read it like it is, okay?
All right, Jenna. All
So
right, come on.
For Women by Nina Simone. My skin is black. My arms are long. My hair is woolly. My back is strong. Strong enough to take the pain, inflicted again and again. What do they call me? My name is Aunt Sarah. My skin is yellow. My hair is long. Between two worlds, I do belong. My father was rich and white. He forced my mother late one night. What do they call me? My name is Sophronia. My skin is tan. My hair is fine. My hips invite you. My mouth like wine. Whose little girl am I? Anyone who has money to buy. What do they call me? My name is Sweet Thing. My skin is brown. My manner is tough. I'll kill the first, excuse me, I'll kill the first mother I see. My life has been rough. I'm awfully bitter these days because my parents were slaves. What do they call me? My name is Peaches. So that was For Women by Nina Simone. The reason why I pulled this song out, I listen to Nina Simone a lot. I'm not a big fan of her voice, but I love the lyrics to all of her songs. I love Nina Simone lyrics. So, like I said, I've been having this conversation with people over probably the past month, and I was listening to my playlist one day, and this song came up, and it got me to thinking, like, you know, one of the reasons why Black women have a lot, and I'm not going to say Black women because it's not all of us. I like to think that my attitude is very sweet most of the time. But anyway, I like to a lot of women, Black women, have the way they are, the way that they are. It has to do with the way that they were raised, the women who raised them, or seeing what the women who raised them went through. The reason why I read those lyrics is because these are for women, and this can just this even though it's a song, it can describe any number of women and what they went through a long time ago. And these women had daughters, and these daughters either saw it or they were taught this way. So that was the point that I was making with this song. So now I'm going to bring my guest in. So the first thing that we're going to touch on is, why do you think that Black women have bad attitudes?
Okay. I believe it's ancestral grudges. I believe that a lot of things that happened before them, when they were growing up, it happened generationally. It's going to happen before that and prior to them and prior to their story, and it's basically, um, you know, passed on to them. So, say a woman's mistreated by her husband, and then they'll go back to the daughter and say, "Well, your father was this, this, and that," and they pass on that information, and then that becomes ancestral. It becomes passed down, passed down. Like I can go from the beginning. Some people say that women carry this grudge because, um, as slaves, directing towards Black people as slaves, some of these Black women's husbands had to watch them get raped, get beaten, and they couldn't do nothing about it. And there was a lot of bitterness towards that too, and a lot of these women had biracial children through these slave masters. That's how I feel about it.
So that's pretty much what I just touched on. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be like, your father did this to me. It could be more like, um, what I learned growing up. Don't ever let a man do this to you. Don't let a man treat you like this. But the way that it's brought to you is like, it seems like all men are going to treat you like this. And we're just talking about men right now. We're going to talk about I'm talking about attitudes in general. But as far as men go, it's really bad. A lot of us are really, bad towards men, and vice versa. But right now we're talking about women, and we're gonna talk about men at another time. That's actually gonna be another topic, because yeah, that's a big thing too. But yeah, like you actually just, you feel the same way that I feel. It was passed down throughout generations, and like you said, even in during slavery, these men had to watch their women being beaten and raped, and it was nothing that they could do about it. And these women started resenting their men because they couldn't save them, and they couldn't save their children. Not saying that it was anything that they could do about it, but it does build up resentment in your heart. Maisha, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's two things. Could you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thought I sound far away. I think it's two things. One of the things I think it is sometimes it's people's circumstances. So when you don't have a steady home, or you don't, you know what I'm saying, you're not stable, and you're, you know what I'm saying, you bouncing around, you ain't got no job, you broke, check the check, you know what I'm saying? You take it out, your frustrations out on other people, because, you know, being in psychology, we studied that sort of kind of with Maslow's, I think 7 something. I gotta remember. Yeah, Maslow. That's what I said. Maslow. I think
Maslow.
it's Maslow, right? 7 something hierarchy things, and the one thing you have to have is stability first, and then everything else comes after. And then the second part is, I think, being that it's a people who see the world as a man's world, I think women feel like they have to be more aggressive and prove themselves, like don't come for me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they have to, you know, because I ain't gonna lie. The reason why I'm all sassy and I say what I say and I feel the way I feel is because I feel like people be trying to punk me because they think I'm a woman. So, you know, that's what I thought.
Now, I have been, I shouldn't say have. I am considered, I don't want to say, yeah, I'm pretty sassy. That's a word that somebody, one person used. People use other words for me, but they're not that nice. But it's because I've had, being a blind Black woman, I have had to be assertive in a lot of situations. It's not that I have an attitude, but when it comes to taking care of business, I'm also independent. I don't have anybody to take care of me. I take care of myself, I take care of my daughter. And so I've had to be assertive because people will try to lead you in the way that they want you to go. And that's not necessarily the way that you want to go. You have an opinion. And sometimes we feel like we have to be really strong in um enforcing our independence. And that can come off as being a bad attitude. I think that some of us are misunderstood. Some of us do have really bad attitudes, but I do think that some of us are misunderstood. I think that our strength and independence can be misconstrued as having a bad attitude, and that's not necessarily the way that we're going with that. Now, some people like, oh, I'll admit this: when I was young, when I was a teenager, and probably in my early 20s, you couldn't say anything to me without me snapping at you. Like, you couldn't even play with me.
That's how it was.
Don't even joke around with me. But I was young and I had a serious, I used to want to fight all the time, everything. And I don't know where I got that from. I'm gonna say it was a hormonal imbalance because teenagers have hormonal imbalances. But I remember going to like the little like teen clubs and stuff, and I'll be walking through there, and it's not that I thought I was all of that. I actually had low self-esteem. I had a nice body and everything, but I didn't want to be touched a certain way. And this also again comes from things that happened to you in the past. So if I'm out at a club and I got on like a little belly top, I walk past this guy. I'm just walking through the club, and this guy reached out and rubbed his hand across my stomach. Now,
He would have got.
nowadays, everybody loose and all that kind of stuff. You know, they'd have been like, "Oh, what was you tripping about?" This guy touched me, and I did not, I did not say it was okay for him to touch me. He just ran his hand across my butt. It's not like he touched me on my boobs or my butt, but you touched my body. And so I was ready to fight. Now that could come off as a bad attitude, but you don't know what somebody's been through, first of all. Second of all, this is my body. This is my person. Don't touch me unless I invite you to touch me. Period. Don't even touch my arm. Don't touch my hand. Don't touch me unless I invite you to touch me.
I agree.
And I think that I mean, even like now, since I'm an adult, I would actually express that in words. But back then, I was ready to fight. You know what I mean?
I'm like, bitch, don't touch me.
So yeah, it right. And I wouldn't even say it like that. I'd just be like, I'm uncomfortable with you touching me. Don't touch me.
Oh, that's the pretty.
That's not cool with you. I'm a lot calmer than I used to be. I'm a lot calmer than I used to be. So these are some. I'm sorry. What?
I say I'm in between. I'm like hot head,
So
but
I think these are very good points.
Listen, I'm
I
still
think
totally.
that these are very good points. And again, I'm sorry, we got a delay and you're breaking up in my ear. So I'm sorry because we're kind of talking over each other. So what were you saying, Waisha?
Oh, I've been told that I have a bad temper and that I'm a hothead, which I am. But I settled down. Like me and you, the way you describing how you was in your early 20s, that's how I was in my teenage years. I'm a simmer. I'm like mildly. How can I say? I'm like in between. I'm like you cross that line, I get you. But if you know what I'm saying. But at the same time, I give people little chances. You know what I'm saying. So
Mm-hmm.
I see exactly where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? I think that's part of the reason why people think that you have a bad attitude too. And then also with the attitude, far as you knowing who you are and you being confident and stuff like that, I feel like people take that as women having a bad attitude as well too. Like if you don't settle for mediocre, you're like, oh, you're difficult, or you know what I'm saying, or you have a bad attitude, or you just know what you want. So I think that also plays a part in it too. I think people should feel like women should just settle. And some women are like, no, I know who I am. I'm not worth the Cadillac, you know. I'm worth more.
So that is actually a good segue into um what I was gonna get
Oh,
into next. Um, that was awesome. Thank you for that. So, um, I think I mentioned this earlier. A lot of times our independence can be misconstrued as having a bad attitude. Now, me personally, I'm older. Oh, and before I tell you that, you said you're in between now. When you get older, some people, now this is not for everybody, but some people as they get older, they get milder. It's not that they let more things go, but they handle things a little differently. I was definitely a hothead as a teenager in my early 20s. When I got into my late 20s, I calmed down a lot, and now that I'm at the age that I am, none of your business. I'm like I'm like whatever. I'm not getting ready to I'm too old to fight, and not necessarily too old to fight, but once you reach a point of maturity, you don't want to fight. There's no point in fighting. You can walk away. You can hang up the phone. You can hit the unfriend button. If we're adults and we can't have a conversation, if we can't talk about it, then there's no point. Like there's no point in us continuing on with trying to talk. I'm not gonna scream. I'm not gonna holler. I Even in relationships, I'm not gonna argue with you. We can have a discussion about it, and it could be uh, um, a debate. We can even have like a little debate and everything. But when you get to screaming and hollering, it makes me nervous. It makes me nervous, and it makes me feel like it can get violent. After the screaming and hollering comes the throwing of the hands in my experience. So I'm not gonna scream and holler at you. I'm gonna walk away. But um I was getting ready to get into us being independent. A lot of us have to be independent. It is not the way that it was in the old days where you,
yeah, depending.
you and I'm not sure it was ever like this for black I'm not sure whether it was ever like this for black women um completely, but it's it's not that like it used to be where once we reach a certain age, we get married and our husband makes sure that, everything's paid for and we stay home and cook and clean and all that kind of stuff. It's not like that anymore where we're content with letting somebody else um take care of the house, take care of all of the money and everything, and we take care of the house. It's not like that because it's really hard out here, first of all, for us single black women. It's really hard for us out here to even meet anybody. But even if when we do, we are raised to be independent. And again, we have to be independent. If, like I said, I'm older and I'm unmarried, never been married, never even been proposed to. And I'm at the age where I would probably, if I was rich, be considered a spinster. At this point, I'm too old to get married. I'm not, but I'm just saying if this was a long time ago, I would be considered like too old to be looking for a husband and stuff like that. Um, and so I had to learn how to be independent. We have to get our education. Our focus is, we are taught to focus on an education, a career, making sure that we have our own. But we also want to be in a relationship, and we want husbands or boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever you're into. We want to be in relationships and everything, but we are not completely reliant, dependent on that other person for our well-being. And sometimes this can be difficult. Now, I'm gonna bring you guys down. I'm talking about a lot right now, but sometimes it can be difficult for us to give up even a tiny portion of that independence once we get into a serious relationship and start, talking about living with somebody and everything. And that also can come off as, us people might think that we have a bad attitude when we're really just struggling to adjust. So, what do you guys think about that? Like, do you think that independence can be um misconstrued as having a bad attitude?
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say independence. It does prevent certain men or other people to get involved in relationships, because in a relationship you do for one another, and if you're not able to do for that person, you feel like you're not being appreciated in that relationship. So, like for a husband and a wife, to be together, you guys have to work as a couple. And if one person is independently minded, like they have their mind on independence only, they're only worried about themselves. They're not worried about what the other person can bring to the table. And a lot of relationships and partnerships are like that. And that's what dissolves those partnerships you have with certain people. And it's sort of like a defense mechanism for people who are solely independent on themselves. Like, for example, if a woman may have a daughter and she raises this daughter on her own, she may not want a man to to enter that relationship and show that daughter a father's love, because she's like, well, you didn't have a father growing up, or I didn't have a father growing up and I'm doing just fine. And all of a sudden it just becomes, like we talked about before, generational and ancestral. And that, like, if you think about it, ratio wise, like in ratio, women overpopulate men by five. And it's sort of like now it's like a competition where it's very hard to find a man in the first place that will support you. And when you do find that man, you already went through the other relationships in the past where they didn't support you at all, or they did wrongdoing, and you're not looking for that help anymore. You're looking to become independent and say, well, I don't need a man.
Maisha, what do you think?
I agree with what you said, because like I'm serious. Like, I'm very independent. I'm very, very independent.
What I'm
So
saying, you just took a breath. You just took a breath, like,
I
oh my
had
God, I
to,
don't know.
because me, listen, I am very independent. Like, I'm so serious. I had family members who personally said that I was mean, rude, and nasty, because they would tell me what I want, and I'll say, no, that's not what I want. Like, for instance, I had one of my family members. She was like, "Oh, do you want to eat?" I said, "No, I'm studying." Then when I'm ready to eat, she was like, "You should have ate when I told you." I was like, "Huh? That's not what I want to do." you know. So it's like, I agree that sometimes your independence, because me, I struggled. Like, all my life I struggled. I've been homeless twice. You know what I'm saying? It was times where I went without eating and things like that. Nobody gave me anything, and so when somebody try to come along and say, "Let me help you," I'm like, hell nah, I want your help. Save your sympathy for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? It's like, growing up, it was all about the street code. My mom would tell me, my real mom, before she passed, don't ever let them see you fold. And so when you have that mentality, being in the streets, and the streets practically raising you, you don't trust anybody. You like, well, every man for himself or herself. You know what I'm saying? So I think it does.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then, I think it does. That independence does rub some people the wrong way, because I think people feel like they have to help you and you have to accept they help, and it's like, I don't want your help, especially the ones who looking for something in return. And every time somebody do offer help for me, because I've been screwed over so many times, I sort of kind of hesitate. Well, unless you offering to buy me some food, I ain't gonna lie, but I'm just saying, yeah. I'm being honest, like.
I know it's fine. So this is the last thing that we're gonna touch on, because we don't want to keep this on here long, and we're actually gonna, like I said, this is gonna be an ongoing conversation, and I'll tell you guys where you can pick up where we're gonna pick up this conversation tomorrow. So we've talked about we've actually covered a lot. We've really covered a lot about relationships. So and Maisha, you actually again opened up a segue into what I wanted to get into: our attitudes towards people in general, not just a significant other. Now I'm gonna give you an example, and this is just one example. In all of my years, I've had so many like this. Black women's attitudes towards people in general, I should say Black people, not just their man or their significant other, but people in general. I went to a doctor's appointment. Um, I believe it was in October, and I had my daughter with me, and my father was with me. And normally they go up to the clinic with me and everything. I had no idea that the rules were changed because of COVID. I did not get that memo. So as I was walking through the door of it, because my clinic is in this huge hospital. So as I was walking through the door, Black women, of course, no, kids can't come in here. You can't bring your kid in here. You can't bring her in here. I'm not even, and I'm literally not through the door yet. So I stopped and I said, I'm blind. He's my babysitter. Um, I need to get up to the clinic, and he's gonna walk me up to the clinic. This hospital is huge, and I've never navigated it on my own before. I want you guys to know that. So she said, kids ain't allowed in here. That's how she said it. The way I'm saying it to y'all, kids ain't allowed in here. I said, so um, what do you suggest? Or is someone gonna be able to come down and get me and take me up to the clinic? I don't know, but she ain't allowed in here. Are y'all hearing this?
Yeah.
She would have got cut.
Now listen.
Better?
I had an attitude. I was shaking. That old me was at the surface. I was so mad. I was shaking, and I turned around and I walked out of the hospital. Wait, before I left, I said, "Do you think that I should make?" I'm still talking to her really nicely. I said, "Do you think I should reschedule? I don't know what you gonna do, but kids ain't allowed in here." So that was it. Like, that was it for me. I turned around, I walked out, and I got all the way back to the car, and I stopped. I took a breath, and I told my father to walk me back to the door. I said, she's going to either take me up to the clinic, or they're going to call somebody down here, because if I came here by myself, someone would have to take me to the clinic. I'm blind, and I have to go to my doctor's appointments, and I don't know this hospital. It's huge. It's got so many different wings. It's crazy. And we were coming in a different way than we normally come in. So I went back in there, and it was a different lady. Still a Black lady. Now, to show you the difference between attitudes, it was a different lady at the front desk. She said, "May I help you?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I need someone to take me up to the clinic." And the security guard was there, and he heard the first conversation. He said, "I'm going to walk you up." And he explained to me that he was going to talk to that lady about her attitude, because she was being real nasty, and she didn't have to act like that. Now, I'm telling you this story because I know in my heart of hearts how we do. And if I would have been a white woman walking through the door, that lady would not have talked to me like that. Do you hear me? And I know this because I've seen it before. And they do it right, and they'll do it right in front of you. They'll get really nasty with you, but a white person come through the door. Hello, sir or ma'am. How can I help you?
They get real polite.
Now, again, I'm a little bit more mature. I didn't cuss her out or throw something in her direction like I wanted to. I went outside. I took some breaths. I called on I called on the Holy Spirit and I went back in there. Okay. Now, somebody else younger than me, maybe older than me, definitely hooder than me. Now I'm hood, but I've matured. Somebody would have cussed that lady up and down that hospital. That security guard would have came to escort somebody else out of there, not walk them up to the clinic. Do you understand me? She'd have had the right one. My mom, I'm gonna say my mother would have cussed that lady out. So this is another part of our discussion. So how do you guys give me, because we, like I said, we don't have that much longer. If you guys have an experience like that, give me a little bit of that experience and tell me how you handle that, or what do you think about that type of situation? Like, why do we have to be like this towards each other? Like I said, not necessarily a significant other, but why are we like that towards each other?
I'm gonna say certain people are not able to be approached after a situation, like after, say for example, there was somebody that walked in before you, or a situation that happened, and a lot of it is I'm gonna be honest with you. They say women hold grudge like piss on a road trip. That's what they say. So some people, you could be the prettier girl, and just because you're prettier than that woman, and she see you enter and how you carried yourself, automatically turn a switch on. And I experienced a situation like that, not with just women, but just with men. And me talking the way I do, I know how to talk professionally. I know how to talk in a manner where if the person has a bad attitude, I can get stern with you too. I could get stern. I'll be like, excuse me, let me speak to your manager. I want to speak to your manager. I don't want to speak to you. I want to speak to your manager or your supervisor. And that's it. And then they'll just say attitude. And I feel like some people have that certain position where they feel like they can talk to anybody a certain way. And it's all in how you carry yourself. Even though you spoke nicely, you didn't have an attitude or anything like that. You could have been more stern with that person, or say, I want to speak with somebody else, or let me speak to your heads and whoever's in charge of you. And she would have just redirected that. White people, I'm gonna be honest with you, a white person's automatically gonna do that. You catch an attitude with them, well, I want to speak to your boss, please. I don't like the way you're treating me.
Speak to your manager. Exactly.
Exactly. That's how they do. They don't go back and forth with you, and that's the issue with not just us. It's with certain people of the same race, where they see each other and stuff like that, and they can't treat them with the same manner of respect that we treat them. And I don't know whether it's a competition. I don't know if they
So
feel threatened. I don't know.
I'm gonna say this. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. I said, well, maybe she's having a bad day. But even if you're having a bad day, you don't know whether I'm having a bad day or not. And like I said, somebody else would have jumped on this lady. I went back in there and I actually, like I said, I spoke to the security guard, which he seemed like he said he was going to go and talk to her about that. And I actually spoke to the people in the clinic. So she probably got reprimanded a couple of times because it was, like I said, even if you're having a bad day, you're in customer service. You're the first person that somebody sees coming through the door. Things are
Right.
tense because of COVID. You working in a hospital, people are coming in here, they don't feel good. They probably stressed out about their family member who's staying in this hospital that ain't feeling good. And you're being nasty and snapping on them instead of saying, first of all, let me get in the door. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even, the doors open up. I'm still standing outside. First of all, let me get in the door and say, I apologize, but our policy here is that there are no children allowed in the hospital. You know what I mean?
And
And
it's like,
then, and then we can go from there. But her attitude gave me an attitude. And I couldn't think straight to say, you know, um, immediately to say, can you call up to the clinic, please, and have somebody come down here? Or, you know what I mean? I couldn't, like, my instincts were rising up and I wanted to fight her. So that's why I turned around and walked out the
Yeah, and I can understand that.
so but I tried, like I said, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. In my mind, I'm like, okay, this lady probably had a really bad day. Everybody's not gonna do that for you though. You have to be careful how you talk to people. Even if you have a bad day, you're at work. You're at work. You're supposed to be a professional, and that just was not professional behavior. But even outside of that, just like I said, um, I've been around people and who you can walk past even in the neighborhoods. You can walk past and you can speak to somebody, hey Miss Johnson, and Miss Johnson will speak back to you, and you walk past uh Miss Bridget, and you be like, hey Miss Bridget, and she act like she don't hear you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm one of those people like, girl, bye.
So you ever thought about?
I'm so serious. I'm one of those people like I will call you out, but keep it nice at the same time. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, she stuck up. She got her attitude
I'm gonna
or
tell
something.
you. Let
I
me
get.
tell you something.
I mean,
Let
I'll
me
it's
tell you
one
something
time.
that my mom does that's really funny. What's really funny, my mom will speak to somebody, and if they don't speak back, she'll look at somebody. She'll be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And if they don't say anything back, she say, "Fine, just fine. Thank you for asking." And she just keep walking like they ain't saying nothing. Which they haven't said anything, but it is so funny every time she does it.
I'm gonna say this. What do you think about? Do you think about okay, in reference to that song you were talking about? Do you think about colorism when it comes to that? When you think if it's a certain shade of black that you get a certain level of respect, or you get treated um, distinctly because of your shade of skin, not just because of racism. I'm talking about, like, say I'm a lighter person. I'm light skinned. Now, do you feel like if I'm talking to somebody that's a darker tone than me, they're gonna treat me with a little more disrespect because they're like, well, look at this pretty nigga. He all red skinned. He got waves, this and that, and all of a sudden they just change their attitude.
Oh my goodness! So you're talking about colorism, okay?
Yeah.
And that is definitely an issue. Hold on, you guys. I have to check the time because the children went back to school. So what time is it?
6 something. Oh god, let me see.
Okay.
It
So you
is
guys, we're gonna take 5 minutes. Um,
okay.
we got 5 minutes, and then I gotta be heading up out of here. But just to touch on this really fast, and I actually didn't have this point in here, but it is a very good point. So colorism, I grew up with this. Okay, I'm a dark skinned girl,
Hey,
and
I'm
light light skin was definitely in style when I was younger, okay?
down there.
And so I did have to deal with that. Like I had to deal with being treated differently because I was the darker person. I have light skinned cousins. And me and another cousin, we were the it was just two of us. Actually, they have a sister who's a little bit darker. But anyway, I used to hang out with the light skinned cousins most of the time. And I used to have to hear things like, oh, you ready to be so black, and maybe you should stay out of the sun so much. So your skin won't get any darker and stuff like that. And that can give you an attitude, attitude about your it actually can give you a complex for one thing, but it can turn you against your lighter skinned brothers and sisters, or even vice versa if you got that if you were light skinned and you were having that same issue. So that can cause problems as well. And people did treat me differently, not even with just a little sideways insults, but they would treat like a light skinned person, much better than they were treating me because I was the darker person. So that is definitely an issue. So really fast, you guys can go with that. Go with that really fast because we got to get off.
All right. Well, I'm being biracial. I was too dark to be Spanish, and I was too light to be black. So being in a neighborhood of Spanish people, they would say, "Oh, well, you were born at night." And then when I was trying to hang out with my other side is Haitian. When I try to hang out with the Haitian people, They didn't acknowledge me as a black person at all. So I struggle with both and colorism and stuff like that. And they basically put a placement on me where I couldn't. I had to be stuck in between. Like I couldn't be on one side. I couldn't be on the other side. And I don't want to be one of those people judged solely based on my skin, But that was how it was in elementary and middle school for me, And carrying a Spanish name, people did not know that I had Haitian in me, and that was a problem for me. That was a big problem. I didn't identify with my Haitian side for a very long time because of that.
I'm thinking because
And this is actually getting a little bit off topic because we were talking about women's attitudes. So
I'm bringing it back.
yes.
I'm bringing it back. No, we ain't get off topic because I think all that stuff go hand in hand. I think it plays a part because I think why women and just us of color give each other attitudes is because we taught to go against one another. You know what I'm saying? Like for the most part, I know you got to go, boo. They always glorify when you see black on black crime. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like breaking news to them. You know what I'm saying? But like, let it be, police brutality or anything like that or any other type of thing. They don't too much glorify that. You know what I'm saying? Let it be like, blacks coming together. They're not gonna put that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
So
I'm over here thinking.
We are actually going to have a conversation about colorism. We are going to talk about this. We're going to record another show, and I would love for you to come back so that we could talk about this. I want you guys to get your thoughts together because I know that all of us we have had to deal with this. We're actually going to talk about some isms, so we're going to do that later. So you guys, I'm going to have to end this, but before I end this, I want to continue this conversation. So if you are on Clubhouse tomorrow at 2:30 Pacific, that's 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central, Jennifer's Open Book is going to open up a room in Clubhouse, and we're going to talk about Black women's attitudes. We are going to talk about this. And since we're going to be on Clubhouse, we can talk for as long as we want. And it's on a Saturday. So we're going to talk about this. So you guys stay tuned and please join us on Clubhouse. If you're on, be looking out for that. Try to invite as many people as possible to get in on this conversation. Thank you so much, Boulevard Burton. Thank you, Maisha, for joining me. If you guys would like to come on and have a conversation with me, if you are doing something positive you want to promote, you guys go ahead and get in touch with me. Leave it in the comments or find me on Facebook under Jennifer's Open Book, JINNER''S Open Book. You can find me on Instagram in the same place. You can find me in the Clubhouse under Jennifer's Open Book without the apostrophe. And you can find me on Twitter under Jay's Open Book. I don't tweet that much, but I am on there. So you guys just look up that JINNERFER and you're going to find me. I'm the only person in the world who spells their name that way. Make sure that you guys subscribe, like, comment, and go check out some of my other videos. It's still Nevada Reading Week. Today is the last day, and I am reading children's books this week. So go check out those books and let your children listen to it. So until next time, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to get the baby off the bus. I love you. Bye.
Bye.